So in the summertime, I did a summer solstice ride. You may have seen that video. It's the longest day. I rode the South Downs Way. So now it's midwinter, I'm gonna do the winter version. But I'm not riding for the shortest day, I'm riding for the longest night. So I've come up to beautiful North Wales. I've not been up here for ages. Amazing rugged terrain. And I'm gonna use exposure lights. So full disclosure, it's a sponsored video. I'm using the best kit in the business because I'm gonna be riding for 16 hours. It goes dark at about 4 p.m, sun comes up at 8 a.m, and I'm gonna try and ride all night. Got a pretty epic route planned. I'm feeling a bit nervous. I think I've eaten more than is humanly possible in the last 7 hours since I got up. Getting fueled up for a very long, very cold, very lonely night. I'm at Coda Brennan. The lap is pretty epic, to be fair. I got really excited when I was planning it on the computer. Now I'm here, it's feeling a bit more daunting, but I'm doing a lap of the Beast, which is the big loop here at Coda Brennan. Then I'm riding up the road. I think it's about 20 miles up the road to Penmachno, another really amazing trail centre, a lap of that, and then riding down into Betsycoy, trying to refuel there at the 24-hour garage, then a loop of the Marin Trail. It's 130k, 3,000 metres of climbing, and it's all technical riding, especially here, so it's going to take me quite a while. I reckon it's going to be quite slow going. Nick, the camera guy behind that camera there, is going to ride with me on his e-bike for the lap of the Beast. I don't know how long that's going to take. It's about 3 hours in daylight, going hard. So at night, oh, I don't know, it could be 5 hours. And then Nick is leaving me. Well, we'll come back here. I'll get fueled up. I've got loads of food in the car, trying to eat my dinner then, chuck everything else in the camelback, and then Nick's leaving me and I'm riding off by my own. Hope there's no wolves in these woods. Bike is gadgeted up to the max. I got the Exposure 6-pack up front, got a GoPro mounted there, a few night shots, Wahoo on the stem so I can keep track of my route, see where I'm going. I've got a light to go on the rear, another exposure for when I'm riding on the roads because there is that one section of road. Got a mud guard on the back, so I don't want a wet bum, riding for so long. I'm wearing full waterproofs, but that's gonna help. 2 tubes in my saddlebag, got a pump. I've also got a Diablo on my helmet and I've got that spare that backup battery, so that plugs in and that doubles the life of that Diablo on my head. There's a choice of 10 different programs on the 6-pack light, all handily inscribed on the bottom of the light. I've chosen program 2 that gives me 18 hours of light on the low setting. The headlight is Exposure Diablo Sync, so I can actually use the phone app to customize the burn times. So got zip ties, got a spare cable, got an emergency bag to climb into should anything happen. Got a waterproof jacket, spare socks and gloves, and a bit of money. So I'm relying on that 24-hour garage in a deep night. That's about it. I now just need to load up on food, and it's about time I got underway. The sun must have gone down by now. That's it. Ready to roll. I've ridden the Beast at Coda Brennan, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 times. I've not ridden it for a few years and it came as a bit of a shock actually, that first bit, the first like 10k. It's all pretty gnarly downhill, rough, and obviously don't see quite as much at night, you just see lots of shadows and definitely got to go steady. So I reckon it says 13k, it's not that far, but there's quite a big trail diversion, they must be doing some work. So it's a bit disappointing that I won't be able to say that I've ridden the whole Beast, because I reckon we're probably halfway around by now. Looking at the map back there. Still, loads more to do to be fair, and some of that stuff, smoother downhills, so much fun. It's cool being out. All you can hear is like the thundering of water. It's been really wet the last couple of weeks, but we're really lucky. It doesn't look like it's gonna rain. Slight chance of a bit of rain at like 2 a.m. Rest time looks dry. There's a really strong wind a couple of weeks ago, but tonight it's pretty still, so be nice paddling around with no headwinds.
What are the lights saying? How are they doing?
The lights saying plenty, it's saying like 16 hours 37 on my 6-pack. And I've got a spare battery pack for my headlights, so it's looking good. Looks like they'll do it easy. Easier than I will. Well, it's a mega night for it. It's completely clear. See loads of stars. Probably won't see the Milky Way quite like you did in Iceland, but it's lovely. But check out in the field, there's loads of eyes. There's all the sheep.
They've run away.
No monsters, just sheep in Wales, but it's funny seeing their eyes. Anyway, enough about sheep. We've only got 100 kilometres left to go, so I better get going. Right, so ticked off the beast at Coda Brennan, about 4 hours of riding. Just got back to the car, had a bit of food, actually a lot of food to be fair. Feeling good, legs feeling good, super steady pace around there. Now I've got to ride up the road, which is potentially the dodgiest bit, but it's gonna be really quiet. And I've got loads of lights, don't expect to see many cars to be honest. Up to Penmachno, and that's gonna be tough. I know the first climb Penmachno is really hard, and that's a big old loop again. So once I've done that, it'll be, well, the middle of the night, probably 4 AM. Then I'll be feeling relieved, I think. Get back to Betws-y-Coed, get to the garage, get a cup of coffee, and then it's just the Moulins Trail. So it's just this next bit I'm slightly more worried about. I know it's going to be pretty hard work, but I'm loaded up, got loads of food, loads of drinks, got my headphones if I get into Penmachno and get a bit lonely, stick a bit of trance on. Let's see how it goes. Helmet's on, let's get out of here. So I waved goodbye to Nick as he headed to a hot bath and bed up in Betws-y-Coed, and I headed out onto the road and it began raining. Didn't stop from 10 PM until 4 AM. The road was a long old slog. It took me about 2.5 hours, and it's a really long straight road as well. I probably only saw about half a dozen cars, but every time I could see one coming over my shoulder a mile away, I'd actually stop and get off the road because, as I said, I thought this would be the most dangerous part and I didn't want to take any risks. So I rode endless straights into the rain, past the nuclear power station, through sleeping little villages, and then turned onto a back lane that went straight upwards. I reckon it was probably 15 or 20 degrees climb. And actually that road part of the ride took me about 2.5 hours. Then the road descent to Penmachno was the fastest part of the ride. I hit 60k an hour and had my lights on full beam. Then it was for the super tough first climb. After midnight, I put my earphones in, set my Spotify to shuffle, and rode for 6 hours just listening to different tunes. Dark woods, it was the middle of nowhere, and the trails are super rocky. What made it harder was that the fire roads were all munched up. They must have been doing lots of forestry work in Penmachno, so there was no easy part of the trail. There's another diversion on the extended loop at Penmachno, so I set off on the fire road, hoping not to get lost. But the lights were still going strong, and I'd not had to think about them once. It was a real big relief to finish the loop at Penmachno and then ride down to Betws-y-Coed. Nick had left the key on the car actually outside his hotel. So I got to the car, changed my base layer, changed my jacket and got back out to ride the Moulins Trail. But to get there was the most brutal road climb from Betws-y-Coed. As I was riding through the town centre of Betws-y-Coed, there's nothing around, no one about, obviously dead at night. I think it must have been 3 AM by now. I saw an animal on the road. I thought it must have been a rat to begin with because there's a river running through the town. Got closer, thought it must have been like a polecat or a ferret. I actually pulled my earphones out and I could hear a slapping. And it was an otter running down the road, its tail slapping on the road. I've never seen a wild otter before and it was pretty cool even though it was in the middle of town. So then on to the Moulins Trail, and obviously I've been riding a long time by now, but I was feeling good. I'd eaten loads and loads of food. And the mountain trail was the best bit. I couldn't believe how much fun it was. The trails are really smooth, actually much less technical than the other two trails, which is what I needed at that time of day. There was one brutal climb. It took me about an hour on fire road, but after that, it was just really good fun riding, proper single track. Eventually, at about 7 o'clock, there was the first signs of light and the profile of the hills started to appear around me, and I actually got the first feel that I was in the hills, because for the last 13 hours, all I've been looking at is sort of 10-foot or 12-foot of trail in front of me, looking at the rocks, looking at the roots, and just not realised how much in the mountains I was. I rode through my 7 AM alarm, and that was it. I was almost back to meet Nick and finish off the ride. So I've met up with Nick after a long night by myself, and actually there's only a few miles to go now. I had a Coke about half an hour ago, and that completely sorted me out and feeling back on form. Done. I think I prefer the summer solstice ride. It's definitely a lot drier and warmer and much better views. It's not the hardest ride I've ever done, but not the longest ride I've ever done, but it's definitely pretty hard. The trails were all technical, and riding them at night, really tired. You know, that is 16 hours of riding pretty much. And my light on the front is still saying 4 hours, 37 minutes left, which is way more than it actually said to begin with. And this light on my head as well has been perfect. I've not needed to do anything to my lights, it worked really well. If you want to see my summer solstice ride, click over there for that one. Just thumbs up if you like to see me suffer, hit that sub button.